All right, so now we're going to go to Association of Technological Media. Association of Technological Media. So this is a process, right? That's why we say this is, this takes about a few hours to do. That's why I say you need an average of 5 hours per week in order to finish your dissertation from start to finish. And we give ourselves 2 weeks to go through this process of about, which is about 10 hours, which it should be plenty. So let's go back and let's see, future research page 68. Okay, 68, 61, 65, 66, and 68. There are many potential avenues to explore given the current study. First, it would be interesting to compare the same two variables of cyber sex usage and sexual satisfaction across various demographic and other characteristics in more controlled, diverse, and larger populations. Um, a closer examination of how each different ethnic group is using technology media, which are used the most for cyber sex uses and differences in sexual satisfaction, can increasingly increase generalizability. Okay, so this is what they're saying. The present research had a wide spread of participants from varying ethnicities, which would warrant additional research into how each of these subgroups are utilizing various means of cyber sex to maintain sexual intimacy and satisfaction. Traditional and modern cultures, um, belief differences in beliefs. Someone from more traditional to examine the progress. Future research can focus on comparisons of age groups. Okay, so we're going to say age groups and ethnicities. Um, future research yeah, so that's what we're going to say. Let's see, behaviors across LDRs, longitudinal. Okay, yeah, those are the two that we're going to use. Of age groups and, okay, and then two, comparisons of ethnic groups. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And then finally, attachment gender conflict. Attachment gender conflict. And let's see what we have here. Recommendations for future research 104. As mentioned, there is a great need for valid and reliable research that looks closely at the ways in which same-sex and or gender couples, as well as non-binary individuals, manage conflict in their romantic relationships. The first study on this topic to use direct observation as opposed to self-report wasn't published until 2003. As a result of that particular research, the authors concluded that same-sex relationships may be fundamentally different than different-sex relationships. Despite this illuminating revelation, there has only been one additional study using direct observation. Okay, that's qualitative, so we're not interested in that. So while this particular study did not use direct observation, it does help add to a relatively small body of research on same-sex and/or gender couples. Namely, future research should attempt to understand how approach and withdrawal behaviors link to satisfaction. What is the dynamic? While this dynamic has been shown to commonly manifest as a demand-withdrawal pattern in different sex couples and is subsequently linked to dissatisfaction and relationship disillusion, this may not be the case in same-sex gender couples. Perhaps two women who tend to use approach tactics during conflict will feel more satisfied in their relationship than they would if one person tended to approach while the other withdrew. It should be noted that the exploratory factor analysis used to develop the RPCS was not conducted using samples of LGBTQ participants. It is not clear whether or not the domination and separation subscales would have the same satisfaction correlates in this population. Finally, it remains important that future research address the initial questions that the current study asked but failed to answer. Does an individual's attachment orientation impact the way that he or she manages conflict with a romantic partner? In future research, future research can recruit a sample that includes both insecurely and securely attached individuals, the question can be examined statistically. Let's see if it remains important to future initial. Does an individual's okay, and then the first study, and okay, with this particular study did not use direct observation. We can replicate this by ethnicity. Replicate this study by ethnicity. Do the results still hold up? Okay. All right. So so that's essentially the process that we use to determine what the recommendations for future research are, and then the next step is to see if the studies, the recommended research, have been completed. If the answer is yes, then we can't use it. If the answer is no, then it's usable. Okay? So the next step, we have to conduct searches to determine if these studies, recommended studies, have already been completed. All right? That's the next step.